Welcome to an exploration of the unspoken ethical dilemmas within computing. In this video, we'll examine how the evolution of computing has led to exploitative labor practices and what we can do to ethically approach this field as both consumers and participants. This will be done parallel to a talk given by Nabil Hussein titled Computing, Climate Change, and All Our Relationships. First, we need to discuss how computing came to be. Early computing started with punch cards and massive machines like looms. The same teams often built and operated these machines. Local materials were sourced for construction. However, computing became more specialized. This individualistic construction method was no longer applicable. Thus, the computing supply chain was born. Specialized parts would be made, delivered, and implemented all across the world. This allowed for the rapid improvement of computers into what we know today. Unfortunately, this also allowed for rampant exploitation in the pursuit of profits. Picture sweatshops where millions of tiny components are produced, and hazardous dig sites, kicking up thousands of particles. These are not just places. They are filled with people, their lives, and their stories. This is the harsh reality of the supply chain today. For instance, take cobalt mining in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The DRC produces around 70% of the world's cobalt, a vital battery component. Many miners, including children, work in hazardous conditions for very low wages. They risk their lives to tunnel collapses and exposure to toxic materials. This isn't specific to just cobalt or other conflict materials, which are completely inseparable from the harm that their extraction causes. Nor is it specific to human rights violations that allow for cheap construction of components. This is an institutional blind spot where all indirect harm is ignored. Within the purchase, usage, or observation of any computer, any technological creation, you have a relationship that is directly linked to human suffering.
I have to say that although I've never met any of these workers, I have relationships with them, right? These things that I'm holding in my hands pass through their hands before they reach me. And so although these relationships are mediated by capitalism and obscured by these complex transnational supply chains that I have a very limited understanding of, these relationships are no less real for that fact.
I wholeheartedly agree with Nabil on this topic. You need to see the relationships between yourself and the products that you are holding. The second that you forget these relationships, you forget the suffering and the unjustness that has been involved in the creation of these projects, you lose any sense of ethicality or morality that you can have. In modern society, computing is an institution. There is no way to avoid computers, much less maintain a competitive advantage in what society has deemed the way of modern life. So, with this in mind, is it possible to live an ethical life within computing? It is, and it all boils down to the power of your choices. Each time you make a conscientious choice, you contribute to a more ethical world. As consumers and industry professionals, we have a moral duty to minimize harm. Every purchase and project decision involves a conscientious choice to perpetuate or challenge exploitation. All of this theorizing is good and all, but has it actually been done? Yes. Companies such as Fairphone have spent time and effort on ethically sourcing materials all through the supply chain. They also publish the data so they can prove it. They are mapping not only the suppliers for the components that they directly purchase, but the suppliers that those suppliers use, the secondary and then finally the tertiary suppliers and manufacturers. This is exactly what needs to happen to improve the morality of computing. Understanding all of the relationships and stages that the components pass through is crucial in choosing what companies to support. Unfortunately, Fairphone is one of few, so action must be taken to enact morality in our society. There need to be regulatory frameworks that prioritize human well-being over profits. These frameworks must be enforced, and companies must be then held accountable. As an individual, you can also take action. Make sure to support companies that make ethical decisions, are transparent with their supply chains, and educate others about the implicit harm in purchasing a computer. Challenge the idea of a consumerist society where products and resources are forever waste. I wholeheartedly agree with this, and I also wish to tie this into the concept of ruination from imperial debris. The consumption that is happening is causing ruins. The physical products that it's leaving behind are debris. And the way that society is going within this consumption, within this ruination, it will be impossible to keep up. Unfortunately, exploitation in computing does not end with just physical products. Software development and digital services are both built off of exploitation as well. The evolution of software development began with small teams of dedicated developers. Nowadays, it's a global industry that involves millions of programmers and support staff. Software development has been transformed into this complex supply chain. Like hardware manufacturing, this process often involves exploitative practices, particularly within outsourcing. As software development companies seek to reduce costs, many will choose to outsource labor to countries with lower wages and weaker labor protections. This results in workers receiving long hours, poor working conditions, minimal benefits, and minimal pay. For example, large tech firms frequently hire developers from countries like India, China, and the Philippines. These developers face pressure to deliver high-quality products under tight deadlines, often for a fraction of the pay their counterparts in wealthier countries receive, and often for a fraction of their actual generated value. Digital services, such as social media and cloud computing, are also filled with ethical challenges. These services rely on massive data centers, customer support teams, and content moderators to function. Content moderation is a crucial, invisible job. Filtering out harmful content from platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube is often taxing, and it exposes moderators to graphic and disturbing material. These moderators typically are third-party contractors and earn very low wages. Despite their role in maintaining a platform, they receive little recognition or support, even though the platform is basically entirely hinges on the fact that they do their job properly. Similarly, the maintenance of cloud services and customer support operations are outsourced to regions with lower labor costs, just like software development. Workers in these roles often face strenuous conditions, long hours, high performance demands, and inadequate pay. Overall, as Nabil says, what will you do to repair your relationships with technology? All humans have a right to be treated with dignity and grace, and the fact that this industry tramples over these rights is not correct. This is immoral, this is unjust. As someone going into computer science, I struggle with this dilemma when weighing my professional prospects. I do not wish for my contributions to cause harm. I do not wish to indirectly cause harm by participating in such an industry, so I must do what is within my power to make things right. I can contribute to a more just and fair tech industry by making educated decisions and supporting ethical companies. I encourage that everyone who's watching this should do the same. Make sure to go out and support those who are making the right decision. It's so easy to fall into the trap of doing what everyone else is doing or not wanting to fall behind. But the tech industry is currently not in a sustainable era. It's currently not sustainable for people to suffer at the hands of the industry for your products that you use every day to be made. There must be change, and there must be change now. Thank you.